Welcome, hockey fans, to the first edition of the 2021-22 season of This Week in Wisconsin Prep Hockey. I will be your guest host tonight, Bill Berg. MJ Hammett is on special assignment. With me tonight, we have Del Scanlon and Bill Berg Jr. We are going to get you caught up on what has happened in, roughly a week and a half. Since the first puck dropped on the 19th of November. Started off with some game recaps that Del went to. Del, tell us what you saw this past week and a half.
Thanks, Burglar. I traveled up to Eau Claire to the Hobbs Municipal Arena on Monday the 22nd and caught the Onalaska versus ECA Stars game. The Stars actually took a lead in the first period. Built that up in the second to be up by 3 goals. Onalaska came back, pulled their goalie with a little over a minute remaining in the regulation and ended up losing that game 3-2. But it was one of those games that was, a nice contest for early season and moved right along. And both teams played well. Throughout the game, and the ECA Stars came out with a 3-2 win in that one. And then after that, on Tuesday, I traveled on over to Wisconsin Rapids for a boys game where RWD was playing the Red Raiders. RWD scored 2 goals in the first period and were dominating the game, but the second period turned over to the Rapids where they scored a power play goal. Followed that up with a shorthanded goal to keep the game tied at 2 at the end of 2 periods. And then Rapids scored an even strength goal late in the third to win that game 3-2. Cooper Oaks kept RWD in that game and finished it with 33 saves. And a good game. I actually thought that in the third period, with it being a season opener for both teams looked a little bit out of gas at times, but it's nothing that you don't expect early in the season. But a good game for both that I saw. Both games were with 3-2 finals. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Burglar.
Yeah, when I was doing the introductions, I forgot to mention that we also invited LeVar Ridgway, who has replaced longstanding foil of Wisconsin Prep Hockey, Tom Shafransky, as the hockey man for the WIAA. We invited him to join us on the program tonight. We have not heard from him. He seems to be hiding from us, and we'll give him one more chance to join us next week. And if we don't hear from him, we will just make up answers for the questions that we had for him and assume that those are correct. So if anybody knows, get word to Mr. Ridgway that we'd like to have him join us for one of these podcasts in the near future. Also, we had games of the week last week. For our first game of the week, our boys game of the week, we had the return to varsity action of the Shawano Bondwell Clintonville co-op against East Merrill United. Bill Jr. and I were both at that game, and he will tell you what happened, and I might chime in if he gets something wrong.
Yeah, if your preseason prediction for the first game of the week was Shawano versus East Merrill, go buy a lottery ticket, because I don't think either of those teams has ever been a game of the week on Wisconsin Prep Hockey, or at least not in a very, very long time. Probably back before East and Merrill were a co-op. So yeah, Shawano, their last WIAA varsity hockey season was the 2011-2012 season. Back then they played in the Fox River Classic Conference. So they got back. Their coach, Travis Olson, I was asking him about it, and they started looking at the numbers, a year or two ago to see where they were at with their program, and things were looking in the right direction. And it looks like they're going to have numbers for the next several years. He's also the program director of the Shawano Hockey League, which is the local youth hockey association there. And so they started looking into, coming back to varsity hockey. They had to find a conference. They were approved last fall to join the Badgerland Conference this year, which puts the Badgerland Conference back at 8, so they can properly host the Badgerland Conference tournament again, which is our favorite in-season tournament, or at least mine. So Shawano is back, and yeah, they were heading over for their first game of the season, their first game back in varsity hockey in a decade, to take on East Merrill at Marathon Park. First period, the ice was tilted overall in East Merrill's favor, but I really thought Shawano actually had the 2 best scoring opportunities in that period, including just one nifty play where a player got by both defensemen and then cut across in front of the goalie, and he just lost the handle at the last second and couldn't get the shot on. He actually had the goalie beat there, and the net was wide open, but he couldn't bury it. And then East Merrill came out hot at the start of the second period. They got 3 goals in just a couple of minutes, and dominated in the shots. And then Shawano got one back, and East Merrill put on another 3 goals in the third. Really, both of the 3-goal spurts by East Merrill came in relatively short periods. Shawano just they got a little lost for a couple minutes in each of those spurts, and it came back to bite them. It was despite the 6-1 score, it was a good hockey game. Shawano, they had a fair number of chances. Their goaltender played a really, really nice game. It's hard to say that all the time when, a kid gives up 6 goals, but he did face, I believe, 50 shots in the game. So he had a nice game. He's not very big, but he's really, really quick. Shawano was 4 players down in the game, so they were only skating 11 on the night. But they hung with East Merrill the whole way through. They never got chippy. It was a nice game to see. It was nice to see a couple teams that aren't your prototypical top 10 teams. It was still a nice hockey game. It was the first, it was a good game to see your first game of the year, I thought.
Yeah, Noah Davids, number 11, is the guy you're talking about who made the move and got in. Actually, he had 2 good scoring chances in that first period. And even though, East Merrill got a lot of shots, I thought that the Shawano team did a good job of kind of keeping things clear in front of the net. A lot of the shots were from the outside. They did a nice job of tying guys up and clearing rebounds. So their goalie only had, a lot of times he only had to make that first save. It was a lot of first saves. Dylan Prohaska was his name. But they had some guys on defense, including Bryson Madison and Blake Nope, whatever. And Sam Arneson they did a nice job. They had some good players in that team. There weren't quite enough of them, to last the whole 51 minutes. But only
and
two penalties in the whole game.
Mm-hmm. And on the East Merrill side, playing in his first, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Nick.
But we have to talk about Nick.
Playing in his first varsity hockey game, freshman Nick Bodner had a hat trick. Burglar and I play hockey at Marathon Park on Sunday nights. And I don't know if he was when Burglar joined, but when I joined, Nick Bodner's dad was the manager of that Sunday night pickup game. And while he was a peewee, Nick actually skated with us a few times.
Actually, he skated with us both years as a peewee quite a few times.
Yeah, so that Sunday night old
apparently he learned it
really helped his game
a lot.
Yeah,
he
hat trick in his first varsity game. Like we were looking at the roster. We were looking at the roster after he scored, and I'm like, Nick Bodner, that name is familiar. That name is really familiar. Why is that name familiar? And then his dad walks up. I'm like, oh, I gotcha. That Nick, the little Nick who skated with us. Yeah, so that was kind of nice to see. I didn't even think about it when we went to the game. Even looking at the roster, it didn't even cross my mind that was Brad's son. But that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, he learned how to hide on the back door and not be noticed by the defense, and so you can get that pass and do the one-timer.
And East Merrill goalie Jake Furrer, he had a save on Noah Davids that I don't know how he made. It was getting late in the third period, and there was like a flurry of 3 or 4, 5 shots right in a row by Shawano rebounds, and the last one I thought certain that Davids was going to bury it, and then all of a sudden Furrer's left leg came out of nowhere and kicked the puck like way out of the zone. I don't know where his leg came from. It was a nice save. He did a good job, 24-25. Yeah, it was a good game.
And that was on Tuesday. Then on Friday, we went down to Mosinee to see the second game in the first round of the Gobbler Cup, which had the Hayward Hurricanes and the new look to us anyway, Central Wisconsin Storm.
Yes. We've been watching the Storm play a lot of years with a lot of coaches. And while they've always been good, they've always also been kind of boring. Like if you think back of the battle days of the late 90s and early 2000s, when nobody in the NHL could score and the left wing lock and neutral zone trap were in vogue and it was all just boring. That's kind of how the Storm made you feel when you were watching the game. They'd capitalize on a couple of chances and it was defense first the whole way through. And that was not the Storm that we watched on Friday. They attacked the whole game, always in the offensive zone. They had two players forechecking on the puck. A couple times they had all three of them down there on the puck. Their defenders were given the opportunity to drop back or pinch as they saw fit, is what I got from Coach Demare. He leaves it up to them to make that decision. Whereas, a lot of coaches in the past have said, when in doubt, back up. Those Storm defenders have the opportunity to hold the blue line, and it seems like they like it. I have never seen them play that aggressively before. This isn't the kind of Storm team that outshoots a team like 25-17 and wins 3-1. They took 44 shots in the game. They gave up 26 shots in the game, and they took a fair amount of body checking and cross checking penalties because of how aggressively they played. They ended up winning the game 5-1. Hayward probably only 2 or 3 times in the game actually had a sustained offensive pressure in the Storm zone. They got shots. Obviously, they took 26 in the game, but they really only had 2 or 3 sustained pressures in the zone. And to their credit, Hayward also has 10 freshmen on the roster, which is going to be tough against the Storm, who is an more upper class heavy team led by Sammy Federici, who had 2 breakaway goals in this game, which is, of their 5 goals, 3 of the Storm goals were breakaways. So for all that pressure, it was still a couple capitalizing on chances to get their goals in. But yeah, I have never seen a Storm team attack like that. It was really fun to watch.
Yeah, the Storm, their offense used to be, if you get the puck down into their end, try to get your 3 offensive players in front of the net and throw the puck there, and hope somebody can, smack a rebound in.
Or, their top line, was it the Bowers and Ramthun? They were a line.
Yeah.
That line would attack, and then the second and third lines would play a more defensive offensive zone pressure. This game, every line was attacking the whole way through. So that's something new. Apparently, talking to Coach Duvert, that's something they did last year. We just didn't see it because everything was streaming. It's not quite the same when you watch it on a stream as when you watch it there in the rink. So yeah, apparently he's brought a new energy to that team, a new style anyway, not necessarily new energy.
Well, and unlike the Bowers and the former Storm players that skate with us on Sunday nights now, this Storm, these girls they're big, they're fast, and they're physical.
Yes.
They don't mind mucking it up. I mean, they will cut you off along the boards. They will cut you off in center ice. They're not afraid to mix it up a little bit, and that's why they did take a few penalties. But it didn't seem to hurt them at all.
Yeah, it was a cross check, body check, interference, body check. Too many players on the ice, tripping, body checking. So other than the trip and the too many players on the ice, I mean, those are 5 contact penalties. The interference is situational, that's a contact penalty. And
Yeah.
and like I'm the first person to complain about some of the penalties called in girls hockey, especially sometimes body checking and tripping. Two girls run into each other, and if they both fall down, someone gets a checking penalty. Those weren't the kind of penalties we're getting in this game. The Storm were actually checking. And to their Hayward had a nice couple of checks too. I want to talk about Greta Wolber, freshman goaltender for Hayward. She had 44 saves or 44 shots against, 39 saves, 5 goals against. I'm never going to fault a goalie for giving up a breakaway goal. So you ignore the 3 breakaways, and she was 39 of 41. That's damn good. I mean, eventually you got to stop some of the breakaways, but 39 of 41 on the non-breakaway chances, that's a damn good game from her.
As a freshman, yeah.
As a freshman, she took 2 pucks she made 2 saves with her face mask. No sign of ducking or trying to get out of the way, which we've seen from other goalies in the past, boys and girls. So, good on her. That was a really fun game. A couple of really nice games to start the season with. 6-1 and 5-1 aren't necessarily the scores you want to see, but they were both really nice games to watch.
All righty, moving right along. We have, game of the week, or player of the week. We have again the Wyndham Garden Inn of Madison, actually Fitchburg, the players of the week, actually players of the week and a half this time. And Dell is going to tell us who they are.
Thanks, Burglar. So on the boys' side, on the 26th, Friday, in a game against Brookfield, our player had 2 goals, 5 assists. On Saturday, he had 3 goals, 3 assists in a 10-0 win. And then in a loss on Sunday, he still had 1 goal and 4 assists. And our boys player of the week is Kyle Rohr, a forward from Oregon. Let's switch over to the girls' side. And on Wednesday, in a 4-1 loss, she had the only goal. On Friday, in a 3-2 win, she had 1 goal, 1 assist. And on Saturday, in a 4-1 win, she had 3 goals. And our Wyndham Gardens player of the week for the girls is Erin Huerta of the Western Wisconsin Stars. And those are our players of the week. And with that, I'll pass it over to Bill Jr. for the top 6s.
Well, just you mentioned the scores of those of all the girls games, but yeah, you left out was the 8-5 loss by Oregon to Ashwaubenon. Our Kyle Rohr had a goal. He was involved in all 5 of the Ashwaubenon goals, and in the 7-2 win, he was involved either a goal or assist in all 7 of the goals. In the 10-0, he was in 6. So out of his team scored 22 goals, and he had 18 points for the week. Yeah, without him, they had not gotten much done.
Yeah, he had a pretty good month last week. All right, then moving on. Top 6s will debut. I think I have it wrong on the show notes, but it will debut next week, December 6th. I'll send the email out to the coaches as a reminder. This week, I'll send it to the boys' coaches. I'll leave it to Dell to send it to the girls' coaches. But we'll start taking votes again next Sunday from the coaches for top 6s on D1, D2, and the girls. I'd briefly forgotten that we had 2 divisions.
Oh yeah, so when you're voting, go and check the divisions again, because with new teams and some reshuffling, there have been a couple of changes, minor changes. For instance, Superior is back in Division 1, as they were the largest school in Division 2. Now they're the smallest school in Division 1. So, that's just kind of how it goes when you have 32 as the small ones.
And lucky them, they get to join the section of death.
Yes. Upcoming games of the week. This week, what we are looking at is on Friday, Dell is going to travel down to Wanakee to watch the the USM Wildcat Co-op take on the Cap City Cougars at the Ice Pond in Wanakee. And on Saturday, Bill and I will be taking the drive down Highway 51 to Stevens Point to watch Notre Dame take on Spash at the KB Willett Arena.
So you can tell that I didn't live in Wisconsin for a really long time, because I call that Highway 39, because the interstate takes precedence over the other highway number.
But it's been Highway 51 forever.
I know, but I call it highway. It's Highway 39 from Madison to Wausau.
That Friday evening game ought to be a pretty good game. That the USM is going to be coming in there with a 1-2 record, but they played some tough teams. They lost to the Storm in this last weekend's tournament. And then you got the Cap City Cougars are coming in there with a 3-1 record. And I think their loss that they suffered was to Fox City Stars, but I wouldn't swear to that and stuff. So I'm looking for a good game there on Friday evening. And there are two teams that always play each other close. And we know that Notre Dame and Stevens Point are going to play a tight game.
Why is that game being played in Wanakee?
That's one of those co-ops, schools that are in the co-op.
Really?
Yep, Wanakee, Sun Prairie, DeForest, and so that their home ice ends up being either Sun Prairie or Wanakee.
Why did I think that Wanakee was in one of the other ones, the Badger Lightning or the Icebergs?
No, Badger Lightning kind of goes Mauston, Reedsburg, I think Sauk Prairie, and Baraboo.
Yeah, those are really the suburbs. Those are kind of northern towns.
And so, and then you get the Metro Links. That's Middleton, and I think Madison West, Madison Memorial, in that area. One of these days, I'll have to go back through and look at all the schools that are in which ones.
I guess I was just wrong.
I guess first time for everything, right?
Sure.
Okay.
It happens.
Yeah. One last bit of business to attend to here. If you haven't noticed by now, the website looks a little bit different. I think, as far as I can tell, all of the content is still there, or all of the stuff that we felt was important is still there. It just looks different, and there's a very good reason that it looks different. The site was originally developed 11 or 12 years ago. I mean, this is our 12th season using the Sports Engine platform. In fact, since it wasn't even Sports Engine before that, it was just Noggin or Sport Noggin or something. Anyway, but that site was originally designed to look good on a computer screen, because that's what everybody used to access the internet, 12 years ago. We finally broke down and had to pay Sports Engine a big chunk of money to update the site to make it mobile friendly, because Bill will tell us how much of our traffic actually comes from mobile devices.
The last month it was 76%.
Yeah, so more people look at our site either on smartphones or tablets than do on an actual desktop or laptop type computer. So I'm sure if you've been with us for any length of time, you know that the site kind of sort of worked on a phone before, but it was very tiny and hard to navigate and was very cumbersome. This is much better on a phone. Much better. And it's good on a tablet too. I've looked at it on all three, and it was long overdue and it had to be done. And a couple of the coaches that we talked to, we weren't really thinking about this when we did it. We had some funds left over at the end of the year because we didn't have a state tournament to attend, and that usually chews up the last of our advertising revenue for the year we spend at the state tournament. We had a little bit left over, so we paid a bunch to get this redone. A couple of the coaches said, well, if you guys want to take donations, we'd be happy to help, pay for this update because they kind of like it. So anyway, there is a button at the top of the site. It says donate to WIPH. That's, Wisconsin Prep Hockey. If you want to, if you like the redesign of the site and want to help us recoup some of the funds that we paid to Sports Engine to redo this for us, we'd appreciate that. You don't have to, but if you want to, if you like it, you think it's a good idea, say there's a button at the top of the page, or if you've got a booster club or something that wants to send a check, shoot us an email or whatever, and we'll tell you where you can send that. So anyway, it was long overdue. I think it looks good. Most of the coaches that we've talked to that have used, they like the functionality of it. So yeah. Any thoughts from you guys?
At games is really the only time I ever used the mobile version of our site. And I can tell you in the past, I did not like it because it was just the full desktop version on my phone and it didn't work all that well. But covering the 2 games this last week, the mobile version has been so much easier to use. Like if I'm tweeting out something that happened in the game, getting into the team's roster, copying that name so that I have it spelled right and pasting it back into my tweet is so much easier. Everything is just easier on the new mobile version of the site. The menu works nicely up at the top as long as you click on the little arrow to expand the boxes you want to get. You can drill right down to whatever team you're looking for. The score tickers work much better in this version than they did in the other one. They don't have the cool graphics around them that they did before in the ticker. But they work better. So I think that's probably more important than looking cool. And we're still sorting out some of the graphics on the site and some layout stuff just to maximize the mobile view and still make sure it looks decent and correct on a computer. So if you see anything that looks wrong or weird, let us know and we'll see if we can't fix that. But it's still a work in progress, but I think it looks really good so far and it's working really well.
Yeah, we lost some of the graphics that we thought were cool in favor of better functionality, and usability is better than aesthetics as far as I'm concerned. The functionality is hands down better on mobile devices. Del, you look like you wanted to say something.
No, I find it easy enough to use. I think there's things that we all are getting used to still as we're using it. But yeah, I think things move around a little nicer on it. The one thing I did want to mention is the Cap Cities actually played 5 games. So they're 3-2 going into Friday. I actually need to go back through their schedule and see which one of their games wasn't set to be in our standings. So I had to look at that and figure it out.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing, is that we were kind of, at least Bill and I were kind of involved in working with Sports Engine and getting this new version up and running and set the way we wanted. We kind of Didn't spend a whole lot of time double checking on rosters and schedules and making sure everything was entered. So we're trying to catch up. So like I said, let us know your thoughts. If you hate it, if you truly hate it, once again, you can still send your mail to trasher@wisconsinprephockey.net. Even though he's retired, from active duty on the website, he still likes to get that hate mail. So trasher@wisconsinprephockey.net. If you hate it, send something to any of the rest of us if you like it, or if you want to, help cover the cost of it. We appreciate it too. Anything else, guys? No?
Nope.
All right. Then as MJ says, keep your stick on the ice, and we'll see you again next week.